So, what we're going to do is cook some makaronilaatikko. This is the ingredients that we'll need. So, what we first want to start with is cooking the meat. Well, technically first we want to put on the water to boil. And then we want to turn on the stove, which is this one because it's on the back burner. We're going to turn it to 6, which is the highest number that it goes. Lid.
Okay.
Okay. Now the meat. We have here a frying pan, and we want to turn on the stove again. And then we'll put some oil in there. We want a plate and a knife. Okay, we're only going to cook half this meat for this dish. This is 750 grams of meat. It's a little bit too much for our purposes. Next, we want to cut up an onion. Now that the oil is hot, you can see it moves around like water a little bit. We're going to throw the onions in there. Okay, so now that the onions are a little bit getting ready here, the onions, and then they smell a little bit like cooking onions rather than raw onions, we're going to throw the meat in there. And now we want to break this up a bit because it's going to cook a lot better and it's going to give up a lot better when you eat it. And of course, you don't have to do this with minced meat. You could do it with chicken pieces or other mixes. Like this is a pork/beef mixture of meat. You can do it with just beef or just pork, depending on your preference. Okay. Now that we've broken that up a bit, we're going to put some spices in there. We have black pepper. And you don't really want to be shy with this stuff because all of the macaroni is going to be mixed up with it as well. So you're spicing the entire dish, not just the meat. And here we have some salt, which is swola and finished. And then we have some basil, basilica. I'm just going to sprinkle some of that in there. Always close your spices. Just going to stir those spices in there. Check on the water. Still a little while to go. Okay, and while that cooks, we're going to measure out the liquid part that goes in there. We need some milk. And then we want 2 eggs. Sure. And that'll go on after we've cooked the meat and pasta. Give the meat a quick stir here so that it doesn't burn. This is almost ready. You can see that there's still just a little bit of pink in there, so we want to cook that out because pink meat is raw meat and you don't want to eat raw meat.
Yeah.
And it looks like our water is boiling. So we'll add some salt into there. Then we'll take a knife to the bag. And dump the pasta into there. We've got one bag that's about 400 grams of macaroni.
Yep.
Okay, this looks pretty cooked here. As you can see, you don't see any pink in there. The onions and meat are all mixed up nicely.
Yep.
So I'm just going to turn that off. That's to 0. The meat is done. Okay, what we want to do next is turn on the oven to 200. So on this side we have the oven controls. You can see there's the temperature that you want it at. We want it at 200. Line up the little dash with this dot.
Yeah.
And then over here we want to put it to this symbol, which means that there are cooking elements on the top and bottom of the oven that are on. And that'll start preheating. One of these lights over here will turn off when it's heated all the way.
With this oven.
With this oven. Most ovens do have a light that turns off or on. And now we just have to wait for our macaroni to boil. Okay, so our pasta's been boiling for 10-15 minutes. The way to really tell whether it's done is to try to take one. Well, in this case we want it just a little bit chewy still. So these are ready. So what we want to do is turn off the stove. Carefully pour this out. As you can see, we have pasta.
That's cool.
We're going to dump the meat in there. Then we're going to stir this together. And make sure that the pasta and the meat are well mixed. So that looks pretty good.
Yep.
So now we're going to pour it in our casserole dish. Any dish that looks kind of like this that's safe to put in the oven is okay to use. Not sure all of it will fit, but we'll do our best. That's about what we're stuck with. Okay, and then we're going to take this milk and egg mixture that we mixed earlier and pour it over the top. Next, we're going to take some cheese. And we're just going to take some cheese and lay it over the top. And this step is of course optional. You don't have to put cheese on it if you don't like cheese, or if you're lactose intolerant, or if you don't have cheese, or anything. But I personally like cheese. So there we are. Okay, and you'll notice that the light on this oven has gone off, which means that it's ready. So we will very carefully going to open it. Be careful, it's hot. And slide this in there. See, the light came back on because I opened the door.
Yeah.
Now we just have to wait for more or less 30 minutes. Everything, of course, is already cooked, so we just have to wait for the cheese to melt and the egg to set up a little bit. Okay, so our food is now ready. We can go and look at it. See, the cheese is kind of melted. So we want to turn off the oven and lift this out carefully. And then you can serve it with something like this onto a plate. And there's food.